question, the member from Toronto Danforth.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, my question to the acting Premier. Over the weekend, an investigation by the Globe and Mail confirmed what the NDP has been saying for the past year. The Premier is wasting $4 billion on a complicated private financing scheme whose sole purpose is to conceal the fact that she's using debt to artificially lower hydro bills prior to the election. After the election, hydro bills will skyrocket yet again, rising by more than 70% over the next 10 years. Ontario families and businesses will be forced to pay back the billions in hydro debt plus another $21 billion in interest. Why is the Premier spending billions of dollars to mislead Ontarians into believing she's lowering hydro?
The member will withdraw.
Withdraw, Speaker.
Carry on.
Why is the Premier spending billions of dollars when, over the long run, she's actually driving hydro bills up even higher?
Thank you. Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we reiterate the fact that we made a policy choice, Mr. Speaker. This government made a policy choice to ensure that we continue to have clean, reliable and affordable electricity, Mr. Speaker, for ratepayers of today and for ratepayers of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. And the Fair Hydro Plan keeps the cost of borrowing, Mr. Speaker, within the rate base, Mr. Speaker, not the tax base. And we did that, Mr. Speaker, because that's the logical thing to do, Mr. Speaker. That's how it's been done for decades, Mr. Speaker. Electricity financing should remain within the electricity system, Mr. Speaker. And so we worked with within my ministry, with officials, within the Ministry of Finance, within the Treasury Board Secretariat, the Office of the Provincial Controller, Cabinet Office, Mr. Speaker, and of course 3 outside audit experts, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that the range of implementation options were available and our due diligence was completed, Mr. Speaker, and I'll answer more in the supplementary.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Again to the acting Premier. The Premier's $40 billion hydro borrowing scheme will not only drive up hydro bills over the long run, it actually violates public sector accounting standards. Emails obtained by the Auditor General prove that government officials knew this from the start when they were designing this scheme. The Premier knew that her private financing scheme would break the rules, but she chose to go ahead anyway and needlessly waste an extra $4 billion. Why is the Premier breaking the rules, wasting billions of dollars, and destroying public trust in government just so she can win an election?
I confess to making an error. I should have deferred it through the acting Premier the first time, so I will give it to the acting Premier to give it back to the Minister of Energy if he wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So let me be clear, and let's talk about what 2 world-class accounting firms had to say in statements about rate-regulating accounting within the public sector accounting standards, Mr. Speaker. KPMG said, on the basis of our extensive research, deliberations, and the opinion from another major accounting firm, we believe that the accounting policies adopted by the independent electricity system operator are in accordance with the Canadian public sector accounting standards, Mr. Speaker. Deloitte concluded that any regulatory assets and liabilities recognized through the appropriate application of these policies would meet the criteria for recognition under the Canadian public sector accounting standards, Mr. Speaker. And additionally, Ernst & Young is OPG's financial auditor and is consulted on an ongoing basis, Mr. Speaker. When talking about wasting billions of dollars, their plan, Mr. Speaker, is to buy back millions of shares in Hydro One, and it will not take 1 cent off electricity bills for Ontario families. They voted against the Fair Hydro Plan. We reduced rates by 25%, Mr. Speaker.